She was hot and cold with you for weeks. You'd text, sometimes she'd reply, sometimes she wouldn't. You'd ask to hang out. She'd either flake or hit you with the classic, "I'm just so busy." But then the second you stopped caring, something flipped. Suddenly, she's texting first, watching all your stories, liking pictures she ignored before, acting like she actually misses you. Why? What just happened? Let me break it down. You see, women aren't blind. They notice when you start pulling back, when your energy shifts, when you're no longer hanging on their every word. And even if she didn't seem all that interested before, the moment she realizes you've lost interest, her brain starts firing off alarms. And this isn't just emotional, it's psychological. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how women react when this happens, why they suddenly switch up, and how to handle it like a man who stays in control. Not needy, not desperate, just strategic. She was acting like she didn't care. Dry texts, slow replies, always busy, and barely giving you the time of day. But now that you've finally stopped trying, something changed. Suddenly, she's showing interest. She's watching all your stories, randomly replying to your old messages, throwing in some flirty emojis, and maybe even asking if you want to hang out. What's going on? Why does she seem more into you now than she did when you were actually trying to win her over? Here's what most guys never realize. Your attention, when given freely, doesn't hold much value. But the moment you start to pull it away, a switch flips in her brain. Because women are far more intuitive than most men give them credit for. They notice when your energy shifts, when your behavior becomes less predictable, and when you're no longer orbiting around them like a puppy waiting for approval. And when she senses that you've genuinely started to care less, her reaction might catch you off guard. This isn't random. This is psychological. Most women don't consciously plan this, but their reactions are deeply wired. Female psychology is built around social cues, emotional balance, and validation. When you were chasing, giving her attention, texting her consistently, trying to make plans, she felt in control. She had no reason to worry about your presence because it was guaranteed. You were available. You were eager. She didn't need to earn you, but when that energy dies off, it creates discomfort. That comfort she once had, it turns into confusion. That control she held, it slips out of her hands. And that's when she starts reacting. You might think she suddenly realized she likes you, that she woke up and thought, damn, I've been blind. He's actually amazing. But that's not what's happening. What she's reacting to is the loss of something she thought she owned, your attention. And the second it's gone, her ego gets involved. Her sense of self-worth starts feeling threatened. Whether she liked you or not, she was still used to the attention. And now without it, she starts to wonder, who's getting it now? Is there another girl? Did he stop liking me? Did I overplay my hand? Here's what's important to understand. When you pull back, you don't just remove attention, you remove certainty. And people hate uncertainty. We're wired to chase closure. And when a woman senses that your interest is slipping, she instinctively starts seeking reassurance. That's why you'll notice the sudden texts, the random compliments, the old photos being liked. It's not just flirtation. It's a silent probe. She's trying to figure out if she still has you. She wants to know whether she still holds power. Now, this can play out in different ways. Some women become more playful. They'll send you teasing messages, post thirst traps just to see if you react. They might throw in a miss you or remember this text out of nowhere. Others go more passive aggressive. They'll suddenly mention other guys to see if you get jealous. They'll bring up your name to mutual friends. Some might even try to guilt trip you subtly, saying things like, wow, you've changed, or you used to care more. All of this comes from the same place. They feel the emotional ground shifting beneath their feet, and they're scrambling to stay balanced. The problem is, most guys fall right into the trap. They mistake this sudden interest for emotional maturity or clarity, like she's finally ready to invest. So they get excited, drop their guard, and go right back to the same behaviors that made her lose interest in the first place. They start chasing again. They text first, they compliment too much, they ask to hang out, and just like clockwork, she starts fading again. Her replies slow down, her energy drops, the cycle resets. Why? Because the second she feels in control again, the tension dies, the mystery vanishes, and with it, so does her emotional investment. Let me tell you something most people won't. Women don't always want the guy who tries the hardest. They want the guy who knows when not to try, the guy who doesn't need to chase, the one who gives her the feeling that he could have her, but chooses not to. That's what creates desire. That's what makes her rethink her choices. It's not about ignoring her or playing dumb games. It's about showing her that your attention is earned, not handed out like candy. That your interest is a reflection of her effort, not just your desire. Take a guy who's always available, always complimenting, always texting back instantly. What's he communicating? That he has nothing else going on, that she's the center of his world. And while that sounds romantic in movies, in real life, it screams desperation. Now compare that to a guy who's calm, composed, selective with his energy. He doesn't reply right away, not because he's playing games, but because he has a life. He doesn't jump at every chance to talk to her, because he's not starving for attention. That man, he becomes the challenge. He becomes the puzzle. And puzzles trigger curiosity. Curiosity builds interest. Interest builds attraction. This is where things start to shift in your favor. Because when a woman realizes that you've genuinely pulled back, not out of anger, not as a trick, but simply because you're no longer trying to force something that's not mutual, she'll sense the change, and her mind will start connecting dots. Wait, why isn't he chasing anymore? Is he over me? Did I push too far? Was I wrong about him? And boom, that's when the emotional tables turn. It's a quiet panic. You won't always see it directly, but you'll feel it. The sudden attention. I was just thinking about you text. The comment on your story that feels a little too flirty. The joke that seems like it's hiding something more. All of these are subtle signs she's feeling the loss. Even if she never admits it, even if she acts cool, underneath she's wondering if she blew it. And you know what's funny? Sometimes a woman who never even liked you that much will become more obsessed when you pull back. Not because her feelings changed, but because her control is gone. She was never trying to be with you long term. She just liked the ego boost, the attention, the certainty. But now that it's gone, her pride kicks in. She wants to win back the upper hand, not your heart. That's why it's crucial to know the difference between genuine emotional interest and reactive, ego-driven behavior. Don't confuse her sudden attention with love. Don't get excited just because she's texting again. Ask yourself, is she being consistent? Is she putting in real effort? Or is she just testing to see if you'll fall back into the same pattern? Because if it's just a short burst of energy, followed by more hot and cold games, then it's not genuine. It's manipulation through validation withdrawal. And the worst thing you can do is reward that behavior by chasing again. You want to flip the dynamic? Stay calm. Stay detached. Don't ignore her. Don't be rude. But don't get emotional. Let her feel what it's like to earn your time. Let her experience the difference between a man who needs her and a man who knows his worth. Because that's what really scares people. Not anger, not silence, but indifference. When you're no longer emotionally affected by her games, she loses her power. When she can't control your emotions, she has to confront her own. There's a point where she realizes this isn't just a phase, that you're not just temporarily distracted. You're not being cold to get a reaction. You're not playing some predictable game. You've actually changed. And that realization hits differently. Because now, her control isn't slipping. It's gone. She can feel it. The texts that used to get instant replies, they're met with silence. The inside jokes she used to drop, they don't land anymore. She used to be able to bait you with attention crumbs and you'd come running. But now, nothing. And that shift doesn't just confuse her, it shakes her identity. Because she didn't just lose your attention, she lost the version of herself that felt important in your world. See, when you were chasing her, you unknowingly made her feel significant, desired. In a way, you were feeding a part of her self-esteem, even if she wasn't serious about you. You created a rhythm where she was the prize and you were the pursuer. And now that the chase has stopped, so has that emotional supply. It's like a mirror disappeared. She used to look into you to see her own worth reflected back. And now that the mirror's gone, she's left wondering what changed. And that's when her behavior can get more unpredictable. You might see her go out of her way to grab your attention, posting more, dressing differently, even bringing up random stories that seem designed to make you jealous. It's not about showing off. It's about getting your eyes back on her. Because in her mind, she's asking herself, why doesn't he see me anymore? And that thought spirals into deeper questions. Was I not enough? Did he find someone better? Did I misjudge him? That's when she starts to spiral, not just emotionally, but psychologically. What you have to understand is that emotional detachment is powerful. When done from a place of confidence, not bitterness, it's one of the strongest tools a man can have. It shows self-respect, it shows boundaries, and it forces the other person to step up if they want to stay in your life. Because once a woman sees that you're no longer emotionally tied to her validation, she's faced with a choice. She can either grow, reflect, and come back with genuine energy, or she can continue playing games and lose access to you completely. Now, not every woman will chase after she feels your distance. Some will try. Others will walk away without a fight, but that doesn't mean they're unaffected. A lot of them go quiet not because they've moved on, but because they don't want to look weak. They'd rather suffer in silence than admit they lost something they took for granted. That's where pride kicks in. So don't mistake silence for indifference. She feels it. But some women would rather act like you never mattered than face the truth that you outgrew them. And this is where your real test begins. Because the old version of you, the one that used to crave her attention, will start feeling tempted. The moment she sends a cute picture, leaves a flirty comment, or even slides into your messages with a casual, "Hey, stranger," it'll spark something in your chest. That pull, that urge to jump back in, to reconnect, to go back to how things used to be. But you have to stop and ask yourself, why now? Is she reaching out because she truly values you? Or is she just trying to keep her ego from taking another hit? This is where most guys lose all their progress. They get a little attention and they instantly fold. All the growth, all the clarity, all the strength they built from walking away, it disappears the moment she bats her eyelashes or throws a compliment. And then the cycle starts again. You chase, she backs off, you feel confused, and you wonder what went wrong. It didn't go wrong. You just forgot your value. You let the old dynamic creep back in. Here's the hard truth. If you go back to her the moment she gives you attention, she learns nothing. She gets rewarded for doing the bare minimum. You give her all the benefits without her actually showing growth. That's not power. That's being emotionally predictable. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who's emotionally predictable. The goal is not to be heartless. It's to be self-controlled. To respond based on facts, not feelings. To recognize when someone is genuinely changing versus when they're just trying to pull you back into a loop. So if she starts reaching out again, don't panic. Don't get overly excited. And don't give her the same version of you she used to manipulate. Stay grounded. Talk to her if you want, but pay close attention to the energy. Is she consistent? Is she showing vulnerability? Is she actually interested in your life now? Or just testing the waters? Because there's a big difference between a woman who's curious and a woman who's serious. And if she's not serious, let her go. No matter how good it feels to have her attention again, remember, It's not about what she does once. It's about what she keeps doing. Patterns matter more than moments. One of the most dangerous mistakes you can make is confusing temporary interest with long-term intention. You don't want someone who wants you because you're slipping away. You want someone who values you even when you're fully present. That's what real connection looks like. But to get there, you have to go through this phase. You have to see her reaction. You have to test the energy. Because how she responds when you stop giving her attention tells you everything you need to know. If she gets cold, distant, or passive aggressive, then you were just an ego boost. If she gets curious, consistent, and vulnerable, if she starts trying in ways she never did before, then maybe there's something real there. But don't take her words at face value. Watch her behavior. Does she initiate more? Does she make an effort to see you? Does she bring clarity instead of confusion? If the answer's no, then don't go back just because you miss her. Missing someone doesn't mean they're meant for you. It just means you had an emotional habit. And just like any habit, breaking it will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll doubt yourself. You'll second guess your choices. You'll wonder if you were too cold, too distant, too harsh. But trust me, when a woman realizes she no longer has power over your emotions, it forces her to confront who she really is. She either steps up or fades away. Either way, you win. Because now, you're not waiting for someone to validate you. You're choosing based on what's best for you. And here's the twist. Sometimes, once you've fully detached, she'll come back harder than ever. But this time, not just to flirt. She'll actually put effort into building something real. She might admit she took you for granted. She might apologize. She might even ask what she needs to do to earn your trust back. And in those moments, you'll feel the power dynamic flip completely. You're no longer chasing. She is. You're no longer proving your worth. She is. That's not by accident. That's the reward for walking away from a one-sided dynamic. And now here's where things get even more real. Because when you don't come back, when you don't chase her like you used to, she doesn't just feel confused. She starts to question everything. Not just about you, but about herself. That's the part a lot of guys don't realize. Your silence? It's not just about your absence. It's a mirror. A mirror that forces her to look at her own actions. To ask herself why someone who used to admire her no longer does. That quiet eats at her more than any argument ever could. And what she does next depends on who she really is behind the mask. If she's someone who was using your attention to boost her self-worth, her first instinct will be to quickly replace it. She might hop on dating apps, post thirst traps, try to make it look like she's living her best life. But deep down, she's hoping you're watching. She's hoping the image gets to you, that you'll reach out, that you'll crack. Because again, this isn't always about love, it's about control. If she can't have your attention, she wants to at least own your thoughts. Other women, especially the ones who did have real feelings, might go quiet, but their silence is heavy. It's not pride-driven, it's reflective. She'll sit there asking herself if she made the wrong call. She'll start replaying conversations in her head, rereading texts, analyzing everything she said or didn't say. And that quiet time turns into emotional pressure. She'll feel it building day by day, because what she thought was stable, your interest, is now gone. And now, she's the one feeling uncertain. This role reversal changes everything. The guy who once waited on her texts is now too busy to respond. The man who used to get nervous about her mood is now calm, detached, and focused on his own growth. And that shift doesn't go unnoticed, because women are extremely intuitive. They can feel when a man's energy has changed, and not in a fake, I'm pretending to be over you kind of way, but in a real deep sense. That calm silence you give off, it speaks volumes. It says, I no longer need you to feel good about myself. That's a message louder than words, and it hits her different because she knows most men can't do that. Most men break, most men fold after a few days of no contact. Most men come back with some long paragraph trying to explain themselves or win her back. But not you. You stayed silent. And that silence tells her you've leveled up, that you've outgrown the version of yourself that once needed her approval. That realization, it's humbling. It makes her rethink how she saw you. Maybe you weren't the weak guy she could toy with. Maybe you were just giving her a chance to meet the real you, and she blew it. Now here's something else she doesn't expect. The longer you stay distant, the more attractive you become. Not because you're trying to play hard to get, but because you've detached from the outcome. You're no longer driven by needing her to validate you. You're driven by peace, and that energy is magnetic. It makes her wonder what changed, what you're up to, who's now giving you the attention she once took for granted. That curiosity slowly eats away at her pride. And the more she wonders, the more tempted she becomes to test the waters. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it's subtle, a memory text, a reaction to your story, a message out of nowhere like, I heard a song that reminded me of you. Other times it's more bold. She might straight up call or ask to meet. But pay attention to the vibe. If it feels like she's fishing for a reaction, don't bite. You didn't come this far to get sucked back into the same cycle. Make her prove she's serious before you even think about giving her access again. Here's the part where you flip the script completely. You're no longer the guy who's unsure. You're the guy she has to convince. You're the prize now. But that doesn't mean you rub it in her face. It means you lead with calm confidence. You talk less. You observe more. You stop explaining yourself and start watching her actions. And if her actions match her words consistently, then maybe, just maybe, she's worth your time again. But even then, you move slowly, because true respect isn't built overnight. It's earned over time. And don't be surprised if she tries to emotionally guilt you. Things like, you've changed, or I guess you never really cared, or wow, you're really cold now. That's emotional manipulation disguised as vulnerability. She's not trying to connect. She's trying to get control back. Because deep down, she remembers when you would have dropped everything to make things right. And now you're just calm, unbothered, focused. That energy throws her off. And if she can't handle that shift, she was never built for anything real in the first place. Sometimes she'll even try to flip the blame. You ghosted me. You gave up. You're the reason we stopped talking. Don't fall for it. You didn't ghost. You stopped feeding dead energy. You stopped showing up for someone who made you feel like an option. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's maturity. That's the exact thing she didn't expect you to have. And that's why she's now sitting with regret. Regret that she didn't take you seriously, that she mistook consistency for weakness, that she lost someone solid while chasing a feeling. The most ironic part? By the time she realizes what she had, you might not even want it anymore. Because while she was figuring out what she lost, you were figuring out what you deserved. And that's what truly changes the game. You're not bitter. You're not resentful. You're just clear. Clear about your standards. Clear about your peace. Clear about the kind of energy you'll never settle for again. Eventually, she'll come face to face with a reality she can't ignore. She no longer has power over you. And that's when the game ends for her. Not because you said something clever. Not because you posted something to make her jealous, but because she can feel you're not playing anymore. There's nothing to chase, nothing to control, and no more predictable reaction she can count on to feed her ego. You're just done. Not in a bitter way, not in an angry way, just in a my peace matters more than your chaos kind of way. That's a different kind of loss, one that stings harder than any breakup. She might never admit it out loud, but she'll think about it. Every time she runs into another guy who acts obsessed, she'll think about how calm you were. Every time she tries to manipulate someone and it works, she'll wonder why it didn't work on you. And when she's alone, scrolling through her phone, thinking about how good she had it, she'll think about the way you slowly faded away. Quiet, controlled, unshaken. That memory doesn't fade easily, because most men don't move like that. But here's what's even more important. By the time she feels the weight of your absence, you've already outgrown the version of you that needed her. You're not trying to punish her. You're not waiting for revenge. You're just better now, stronger, sharper, more focused on building something real than trying to fix someone who didn't appreciate you. That's the part she didn't see coming. She thought you'd wait forever. She thought your consistency meant weakness. But what she didn't know is that the most dangerous man is the one who knows when to walk away and never look back. So what does that say about her reaction when she realizes you've lost interest? It says she's no longer in control. It says the emotional upper hand is gone. It says she has to reflect, to sit in her own discomfort, and finally ask herself, was I the problem? Because up until now, she's probably never had to ask that question. But your silence forces it. Your distance demands it. And whether she admits it or not, she feels the shift. That tension, that emotional unease, that's what happens when someone finally realizes they played a game and lost. And while she's busy going through all that, what are you doing? You're not waiting. You're not lurking in the background hoping she texts. You're locked in. You're building. You're discovering your value all over again. Because at the end of the day, the most attractive thing about a man isn't how hard he chases. It's how easily he can detach from anything that doesn't align with his peace. That's what she'll remember about you. Not your gifts, not your compliments, but your calm detachment. Your ability to let her go without bitterness. That's the kind of man that haunts her thoughts in silence. And here's the truth. When you really stop caring, women can feel it. There's no faking that. You can't pretend to be detached. You either are or you aren't. And when you are, the power dynamic flips. Not because you wanted it to, but because emotional control always belongs to the one who needs the other less. You stopped chasing. You stopped overthinking. You stopped giving your energy to someone who made you feel unsure. And that shift in focus, from her to yourself, that's what makes her react. That's what breaks the illusion of control. That's what forces her to sit in the consequences of how she treated you. So, if you've been pulling back, and you're wondering what happens when she realizes you've truly lost interest, understand this. Her reaction isn't random. It's not just confusion or frustration. It's the unraveling of a power she thought she had over you. It's the collapse of a dynamic that used to keep you emotionally tied. And once that dynamic breaks, it rarely ever goes back to how it was, even if she comes back, even if she says the right things. Deep down, she knows she lost a version of you that she'll never get back, and that scares her more than she'll ever admit. So now you have a choice. You can go back to the old pattern. You can respond to her breadcrumbs. You can open the door again and try to rebuild something that was shaky from the start. Or you can move forward with the quiet strength that made her respect you in the first place. You can keep growing, keep focusing, keep becoming the man who doesn't settle. Not for attention, not for potential, not for anything less than peace and genuine connection. Because once a woman realizes she lost a man who knows his worth, that's a pain that lingers. That's a lesson she won't forget. Watch the next video.